optimistic are you at the moment? Are we days away, weeks away, months away, potentially years away from just the first part of the trade deal?
Well, look, diplomacy, you're always optimistic because I'm not saying that as a way of stalling you, which I am, but also because, look, it's suddenly things can turn around. It can turn around on one weekend. I could tell you on Friday, oh, I don't think it's likely, and maybe it'll happen on Monday, and you will think that I was misleading you. So it can happen.
No, with Trump, we totally get it. Given the fact that on the other side of the negotiating table is President Trump, we won't blame you. We'll get why that happened.
So, we've had, there's no lack of communication, there's no lack of negotiation. It's something which has gone through multiple rounds, and we have to see when the call is taken and on what terms. So if you ask me, could it happen soon? My answer would be sure, very possible. If you say, well, maybe soon may take a little longer, maybe, I don't know.
Dr. Jaishankar, the end of the year is a good time for reflection. Many amongst your peers and those around you consider you one of the sharpest diplomatic brains of your generation. If I ask you to look back at the time of Operation Sindoor, what are the cards or moves that you would have liked to play differently so that India didn't end up in the diplomatic soup that it did with President Trump? Because many in academic and think tank circles would argue that did the diplomats in Delhi get outmaneuvered diplomatically by the generals in Rawalpindi?
Look, let me take it in two parts. I think where India is concerned, there are things we do and there are things we don't. That's why we are India. We have rules, we have norms. If we take any step, we are accountable in this country, accountable to the people, to the media, to the civil society. So, when it's very easy to say these things, but clearly people were, a much more autocratic, oligarchic polity, where there are virtually no rules of conduct in pretty much any sphere, can do things which we can't. I think it would be unreal to compare ourselves to them. And in many ways, I think we would be doing ourselves injustice. At the end of the day, we are people with a certain sense of ourselves, with a certain set of rules about how we conduct ourselves and what we do and we don't. And I think that's very important to maintain.
No, but there are people sitting here who've told me in the past that maybe we could have played our cards slightly differently by playing to his ego, indulging him to some extent without giving in on what he wanted to project. That we thank him at some level without necessarily saying that he brokered the ceasefire, that there were ways and means around the box that we ended up in.
It is the fate of every player to have a wiser commentator in the commentator's box. So I would at least respect those commentators who have at least played.
Many of these are past players.
Look, here is the point. There was a certain reality, Now, I think we owe it to ourselves to stay with that reality and stay with that record. And I don't think I need to belabor that point. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to stand up for what is our interest and what is our, I would say, view of where the relationship should go and what terms it should go.
Is it fair then to say, Dr. Jaishankar, that the relationship with the United States is moving from a zone of strategic alignment to now being increasingly transactional?
Look, I think clearly right now trade is the most important issue there. It's clearly very central to the thinking in Washington, much more than it was to earlier administrations. It is something which we have recognized, and we are prepared to meet, but we are prepared to meet it on reasonable terms. You know, I mean, for those of you who think that diplomacy is about pleasing somebody else, I'm sorry, that's not my view of diplomacy. I mean, to me, it is about defending our national interests. It is about saying what are things which my country and my people believe in. I'm not going to give a version out there which does a disservice to my armed forces and my people. Please understand that.